Hey YouTube, Lizzie B here. With this video, I'm a little hesitant about making it because number one, I have not written a script, and I'm finding that writing a script is very difficult for me because when I read from the script, I look like I'm reading from the script, and I don't like that. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm not off the cuff like I like to be, so I'm a little nervous, but you know, I hope y'all bear with me. This video is brought to you by an epiphany that I had in the middle of the night where I could not get any sleep, and I woke up and I was just thinking about something because I saw a video and it reminded me of blah blah blah. So it's like all these thought processes have led to this video after having had the epiphany last night. So I read Parable of the Sower, I want to say last month or a couple months ago, and I reread it rather because I'd read it a little over 10 years ago. And so I was revisiting this book, and one of the main things in the book is the main character, Lauren has I want to say philosophy or religion, it feels more like, where she says that God is change. And as a formerly indoctrinated person in a fundamentalist religion, where if you're looking at this video, you know what a religion I'm talking about. So, okay, when the first time I read this book, I'm not going to say that I was going to the Kingdom Hall on a regular basis. This was when I was kind of like, you know, just drifting off. But like the first time I read this book, I did still kind of consider myself a Jehovah's Witness. I would go to the Kingdom Hall occasionally, but at the time I had just started grad school and I didn't feel like going, so I wasn't really going like that. And so reading this, I was like, oh, okay, you know, that's an interesting philosophy, blah, blah, blah. You know, mine was not ready to take this information in. This time I read this book, Parable of the Sower, and I'm gonna try and not drop all my bookmarks out because I put a bracelet in here. But I read this book and I saw the part about God being changed, and I thought, well, that's an interesting concept. You know, that's an interesting thought process. And I'm not gonna say that I got it all just then, because I don't think I did, because this epiphany that I had last night, it kind of woke me up. So either way, I woke up this morning and I wrote down some notes. Let me grab my notes, actually. I'm going to grab them. So I wrote down, God is change. So I guess the epiphany just sunk in for me. God is change. God is in the alchemy. The turning of water into wine, not the getting of wine, the changing of it. God is in the work, in the making it happen. The end result is the end result. You have to trust the what? The process. So that's what I wrote down. Those were my notes. And so I hope that this video will kind of serve dual meaning for anybody who's watching it. One, kind of breaking down that theory because I just think it's a pretty cool theory, and two, serving as kind of motivation for anybody who may have needed it, because I know that I needed that word. I didn't realize how important that is, especially to my life now, trusting the process and understanding that the process itself is the miracle. You know what I mean? And so in Octavia Butler's book, the main character, Lauren, has this theory. She talks about God is change. So she'll say a bunch of stuff, and then at the bottom, it's like, God is change. I'm going to read one. She says, we do not worship God. We perceive and attend God. We learn from God with forethought and work. We shape God. In the end, we yield to God. We adapt and endure, for we are earth seed and God is change. That's one. There's another one. She says, God is power, infinite, irresistible, inexorable, indifferent, and yet God is pliable, trickster, teacher, chaos, clay. God exists to be shaped. God is change. And so the common theme with her religion, her thought process, is that God is change. And so I read this book as part of my book club, and there were a few members of the book club who were very Christian in mindset, and I have nothing wrong, you know, I have no issues with that. But one of the hardest things that I am struggling with is when I'm around people who are very rigid in their beliefs, especially those who come from patriarchal religions, like, or what is it, Abrahamic religions, specifically Christian, because that's mainly the group that I'm around. I'm not around anybody else. I hear myself in their thought process. Like I can hear the program. Like I can see the programming, and I'm so tempted to argue it away, or like to, no, you mustn't think that way. That kind of thing, like be Jehovah's Witnessy, I guess, about knocking on a door and changing a heart and mind. And I got to chill with that. So I find myself having to temper that down. But even then, I wanted to explore this idea. I wanted to explore this concept of God as change. And I didn't get the chance to do that. Nobody was going beyond, nope, we believe in Christ and that's that. It felt like, boo, okay, well, I guess we're eating chicken fingers. Chicken fingers it is. And so it was disappointing. However, I don't know that I had the capacity, really. I thought that I had grasped the idea of God as change. I thought I did. But last night I had watched a TikTok video. I might just play a portion of it so you guys will know what I'm referencing.
When you think about alchemy and turning lead into gold, think of this. You ever see someone paint a painting? Just blobs of color, lead, until they refine it. They refine it by adding many layers and layers and layers upon layers of details into gold, a crystal clear image that has meaning and or value. And that value is the journey from lead into gold.
I saw that video last night and it clicked a little bit for me. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then when I went to sleep, I guess my brain must have processed it and processed the information that I got from that video and put it together. And I was just like, oh my God, yeah, that I do understand the idea of God as change. That makes so much sense. And so the note that I had wrote about Jesus turning water into wine, the main thing about that is it would not be a miracle if they said, Jesus, we're out of wine. And Jesus went and came back with some wine. I don't know that it would have made the Bible. Maybe there were other, I'm sure there were other parties that Jesus had attended where everybody was partying and having a good time. And maybe, Jesus went and got some wine for somebody. You know what I mean? I'm sure that would not have been a big deal. But in this instance where they ran out of wine and there was water and everybody was able to see it and Jesus turned that water into wine, that is a miracle. And the process of seeing that water turn into wine, the process of the water turning into wine is what made it miraculous. It's alchemy. That is the miracle, is alchemy. And I think about that right now. I'm going through some things because I am out of work. And I told myself that the next time I was out of work, I'm going to do everything that I need to do to be able to generate income for myself. And so that's been, I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. And, I told myself that I was going to do that. But this process, sucks. It sucks. I don't like it. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. This is not the part that I like. I like the part where it happened. The process is behind me. I like the part where I don't have to trust the process because I don't have to be the one turning the water into wine because I don't know how to turn water into wine. But the process is the thing that you trust, kind of like how people say, well, put your trust in God. You have to put your trust in the things that you're doing on a routine basis because a lot of that, it requires faith. So every day that I wake up and that I turn on my camera and I decide that I want to make a video and I want to talk about something, I want to post it up on social media, I am making a choice to put faith in a process that may or may not benefit me in the end. That is... I don't know. I was going to say religion. I was going to say God. That it's a spiritual experience. Ultimately, it's a spiritual experience. I guess when most people tend to think of spiritual experiences, they think of something that's just wonderful and amazing and just awesome. And just God is God is so great. Everything's just awesome. Look, God did this for me. God did that for me. But you got to do the work. It's the process of you doing the work. You can consider that God. You can consider it yourself. You can consider it whatever you want to consider it. But it getting done is the miracle.
It's gonna take a miracle.
You can see it as a miracle, or you can see it as me waking up and doing what I got to do. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, in hindsight, when I look back on on being able to make something from nothing, that will be the thing that I talk about. That will be the story that I tell. That'll be the magic. That'll be the miracle. That will be where the God aspect of this whole thing comes together, is me doing the work, and that's not sexy, y'all. That's not the sexy part of all of this. But ultimately, when I had that epiphany last night, I understood that it's the alchemy of it all. It is becoming healer. This person is sick and now this person is well. That is the part of Jesus that we all remember. That's wow, that's amazing. Wow, he performed a miracle. This person was dead. Now they're alive. It's the process of changing something from one thing to another. That is the miracle. So God is change. Yeah, changing one thing to another. I could see that being defined as something that is spiritual, or something that is godlike, something that is God, something that is divine. The divinity is in the change. It's in the process. And if you are going through a process right now, and this is where I'm about to get, motivational, I guess. But like, if you're going through something right now, understand that the alchemy of you going to whatever next level, that is where the divinity is. You getting to the other side of it and, becoming better for it, hopefully, or maybe even becoming worse for it. But now having the knowledge that you now have, that was an alchemization. I don't know if that's a word, but like, you are going to be telling that story. You're not going to say, well, every day now that I'm healed, I like to breathe air and drink water sometimes. Like, people aren't going to want to hear about that. They're going to want to hear about the process, because that is where the magic is. And so while you're going through it now, just understand that you are witnessing your power. Or, if you want to ascribe that power to something greater than you, that's fine as well. But that is where the magic is. That is where the divinity is. And so me getting up, putting on my makeup, setting up this camera, I got my lights set up, and every day it's here goes nothing. That's where God is. And it's, oh my God, I'm getting emotional because I'm thinking to myself, I don't like this part. I do not like this part. I stopped making videos for a while because I struggled so much with this part. I was impatient. I was just like, I just want the wine. I want the wine. I don't want to turn the water into wine. That may seem easy to y'all, but it's a thing, And so that's what this feels like. It feels like here goes nothing, So if you're feeling like here goes nothing, understand it's here goes everything. Change is the one constant in this world. That is the one thing you can't escape. That's the one thing that's happening all the time, everywhere. Change. And you can trust the process, or you cannot trust the process, but the process is going to continue to happen with or without you. That train is going. And so that's kind of where I'm at, is just understanding that I'm going to embrace the change. I'm going to embrace the process. This is, for me, just as much as for anyone else, it's uncomfy. It's not always fun, but there's nothing I can do about it. I'm here. I might as well put my hands up in the air and say, wee, with each dip. So yeah, that's it. It was just an epiphany for me. God is change. Change is those things that feel small and they feel uneventful, and it feels, sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's a good change, sometimes it feels like a bad change, but ultimately it is the only constant personally that I can identify. And it's kind of nice to be able to identify a constant, isn't it? And there's one thing you can count on, and that is that things will change. Nothing stays the same, not forever. And so you can see how that is a comforting thought, but you can also see how that is a chilling thought as well. And like, if that doesn't describe God, I don't know what does. So, I mean, and I hope not to alienate anybody who no longer believes in God with this video. This is not about, people who believe in God are good and or bad and or vice versa. This is really just about understanding a different mindset. I feel like my brain has been locked in a box for so long that it's really difficult for me to want to ever go back into that box. And so when I hear somebody say, hey, here's another definition that I have for God, I'm all ears. I want to hear, what are all the things that I could have been missing out on? What are all of the different mental ways that I can process this world? What are they? Like, I want to know. I want to know all the philosophies. I want to know all the religions. I want to know all the belief systems. And even if it's an imaginary belief system in this book, which I don't think is imaginary, I think Octavia Butler was slipping in some of her, some of her philosophy, I guess. I want to hear it, and I want to see if I can use it. And this was definitely very useful to me. This was a nutritious philosophy for me to learn. So I just wanted to share it with you guys and, let you know that if you're going through a process right now, if you're going through something, just keep going. If you can, that is where the magic is when you are in the trenches and you are, what I mean? This is not about equating your entire life with struggle and strife and fighting, but this is to say that when you're building something or when you're creating something or when you're alchemizing something, when you have a situation and it may not be perfect, but you are trying to make a better way for yourself, that is magical. And we take it for granted. We're like, it's nothing, I'm doing what I got to do. But it's like, you're awesome. You're amazing. You're doing something about your situation. You are turning lead into gold. Look at you. That is awesome. Congrats. Keep going. I'm going to try and turn some lead into gold too. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope that this video, again, was motivational to somebody. And, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that mindset. And if you've read Parable of the Sower, I'm curious as to your thoughts on that book, especially if you were a person who was formerly under religious indoctrination like myself. What are your thoughts on this book now? I love that I had a unique opportunity to have read this book while I was fully indoctrinated and then reread it again after I am no longer indoctrinated. That's all I got. I do not feel like editing this video, so I'm probably going to just, no. I'm going to edit this video. No, because that is part of the process. I'm going to edit this video. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful and lovely day. Keep alchemizing. Bye.
One thing I have realized, that if God don't do it, it just won't get done. It's going to take a miracle from God. If God don't do it, it won't get done. If God don't do it, it won't get done.